Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and View.
And here are today's headlines.
U.S. President Donald Trump announces that Israel and Iran have reached a complete and total ceasefire. However, there has been no official confirmation of the ceasefire from Israel, Iran, or the White House.
President Marcos orders all concerned agencies to ensure the safe return of Filipinos who wish to be repatriated.
The first tranche of the major oil price hike took effect earlier today, with another one later this week.
Vice President Sara Duterte's legal team has formally submitted a response to the Senate Impeachment Court, strongly denying all allegations. First in the news, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced what he describes as a major diplomatic breakthrough between Israel and Iran. Posting on his Truth social platform, Trump congratulated both nations for reaching a, quote, complete and total ceasefire, which he dubbed the end of the 12-day war. He also suggested that limited military action could still occur on both sides before the agreement fully takes effect. However, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that no final agreement has been reached on a supposed ceasefire. He added that Iran would halt its attacks if Israel stops its airstrikes.
President Marcos orders all concerned agencies to ensure the safe return of overseas Filipino workers who wish to come home. This as the Philippine government has placed both Iran and Israel under Alert Level 3 amid the tension between the two countries. Over 200 repatriation requests are now being processed. The chief executive assured returning Filipinos of immediate financial and livelihood assistance.
Your government continues to act and is ready to serve to protect your safety and well-being. Nothing is more important than the safety of every Filipino.
Now, Iran has launched a missile strike on a major U.S. air base in Qatar. The move comes after U.S. bombers targeted Iran's nuclear sites over the weekend. Here's the report.
Explosions were heard over Doha, the capital of Qatar, as missiles streaked across the night sky on Monday. Iran's military later claimed responsibility, saying it had launched what it called a devastating and powerful missile attack on the Al Udeid air base, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. Qatar's defense minister said its air defenses intercepted multiple missiles aimed at Al Udeid. No casualties were reported, but officials strongly condemned the attack and said they reserved the right to respond. The strike follows U.S. air raids over the weekend, where American bombers dropped 30,000-pound bunker busters on Iranian underground nuclear sites, a major escalation in regional tensions. In the wake of the attack, the Philippine Embassy in Qatar has advised all Filipino nationals to shelter in place until further notice, urging them to monitor updates and follow official advisories. Meanwhile, 26 overseas Filipino workers from Israel are expected to arrive in the Philippines today. They are among more than 200 Filipinos who have requested repatriation amid the ongoing conflict.
Most ng gustong umuwi, ito yung mga hindi pa veterano na OFW. Siguro mga 2 or 3 years lang nandun, no? Kasi mga naka 10 years na 20 years na going home, sanay na sila dito.
President Bongbong Marcos has also called on Filipinos in Israel and Iran to coordinate with the Philippine Embassy for their safety and assistance.
Alright, going back dun sa announcement ni US President Donald Trump saying na nagkaroon daw nag-reach ng deal between Israel and Iran to have a total ceasefire. But apparently, after nung kanyang announcement na yun, nagsalita naman, nag-release ng statement ang Foreign Minister ng Iran saying wala pa naman silang sinasabi, they haven't agreed to any ceasefire agreement. Sinasabi kasi ni US President Donald Trump, the so-called ceasefire would be phased 24-hour process beginning at 4 in the morning Tehran time. Pero yun nga, we don't know what's happening right now because sa kabilang side, it's not yet on the table.
Hindi naman dinideny ng Iran na meron o walang ceasefire. Siguro ang ganito kasi is in context, baka nag-agree all parties that they will further push for peace or ceasefire, pero walang, kumbaga sa batas, wala pang implementing rules and regulations, wala pang guidelines in place.
Naunahan lang sila
Kumbaga,
ni
nakapag-usap
US
na siguro yung mga negotiators, okay, ceasefire tayo, pero yung sino mauunang titigil, sinong unang magsa-stand down, ano ba ang mga prerequisites nitong ceasefire, baka yun ang wala at dapat hindi pa siguro in-announce until meron yung mechanics in place. But siguro na-excite si President Trump, biglang linabas. Kaya, pero kasi usually pag wala naman talagang ceasefire, Iran would have condemned it right away. Hindi naman outright condemnation
No, hindi
ginawa
naman,
nila.
hindi naman.
So in other
Pero-
words, meron something in place.
Yes, and yun nga dapat yung mangyari, 'di ba? Kasi at the end of the day, yun ang ating we are hopeful for that dahil nga this is already on its 12th day, 'di ba? At syempre marami na mga affected, and of course yung mga Filipinos natin, yung mga OFWs who are nung mga first few days of the conflict nung nag-start ito, medyo parang yung iba ayaw pa nilang umuwi because nga alam nila, 'di ba, hindi nga kumbaga hindi pa sure or secure yung kanilang future
Correct.
dito sa pagbalik
Yeah.
sa Pilipinas. Pero as the days go on, medyo parang nagpalit na yung mga isip nila dahil nga hindi na maganda yung nangyayari.
Basta ang iniwasan natin ang mag-escalate into a proxy war. Kasi hindi naman
Yes.
lalaban ng Iran head-to-head with Israel and the US. So the best they can do is have cells, sleeper cells na tinatawag nila, covert operations or stuff.
And during our interview yesterday with the
Don
Don McLean,
McLean.
'di ba, sinasabi
McLean
niya na
pala.
it's also possible. We're also looking at the possibility of the rise of terrorism in different countries. If
We're not-
kung hindi ito
Yeah.
matatapos.
Not to accuse Iran of terroristic attacks,
No,
but,
no naman.
but we all know kasi they formed groups like Hezbollah and the other groups which were linked to terrorist activities.
In other words, it's going to be a retaliatory cycle, 'di ba?
Balik tayo sa dati. Nag-stop na sana eh. Pero in other news, the COMELEC will appeal the Supreme Court's recent decision to abandon the so-called second-placer rule in Philippine elections. Now, the SC declared that the candidate who placed second cannot be proclaimed in case the winning candidate is disqualified or found ineligible. But the poll body said it needs clarity on the application of the ruling, especially on whether it applies before or after the elections.
Gusto nating malaman anong implikasyon nitong desisyon doon sa nailabas na namin so far. May mga ilalabas po sana kami ngayon at saka sa susunod na araw na maaaring parehas yung implikasyon sa Halosos versus COMELEC. So, ano pong dapat na gagawin ng COMELEC? Dapat bang itago muna namin, wag na muna namin ilabas at hintayin na lang na maging final and executory yung desisyon ng ating pong kataas-taasang hukuman. So again, subject pa naman po yan sa motion for reconsideration.
Now, in other news, San Juan City is celebrating the much-anticipated Wata Wata Festival today. And for the latest, we have mobile journalist JF Rivera on the ground. Hey, JF, tell us what's happening there.
Angela, Checo, patuloy pa rin ang basaan dito nga sa Wata Wata Festival dito sa San Juan City. At kung mapapansin natin, mismo si Mayor Francis Zamora ang nag-lead dito nga sa basaan at nakatungtong siya doon sa may taas ng fire truck. At kakatapos nga rin pumarada ng Santa o kung saan pumarada mga float dito na nagpo-portray mismo sa pinoportray mismo ng festival nito sa pag-ibig kay Heso Cristo.
Nako, JF, baka ikaw ang next na mabasa. May sabon ka na ba dyan, JF?
Checo, sorry, hindi kita masyado marin.
Anyway, JF, baka ikaw ang next ibasa dyan. Mag-ingat ka. Pero ang tanong dyan, JF, ano yung mga areas within San Juan na kasama sa Wata Wata Festival? Kasi mga ibang motorist baka ayaw magpabasa eh.
Ngayong taon, Checo, nagkaroon nga ng basaan doon kung saan nag-start nga dito sa Pinaglabanan Road hanggang Domingo Street. Diyan lang umiikot ang mga authorized fire truck para nga dito sa basaan, Checo.
Authorized fire truck. So sila lang ang pwede mangbasa? Ganun ba yon?
Yes, Checo. Hanggang doon lang at ilang authorized fire truck lang ang umiikot dito nga sa paligid ng Pinaglabanan hanggang Domingo Street.
Jeff, alam naman natin kung gaano kasaya 'di ba, ang ating mga San Juaneños dahil dito sa kanilang taunang pag-celebrate ng Wata Wata Festival. Pero may mga paalala ba ang lokal na pamahalaan ng San Juan pagdating sa pakikilahok sa ganitong klaseng festival para hindi na maulit yung nangyari last year, tulad nga nung nabanggit ni Diego, na may mga, 'di ba, may mga dumadaan lang diyan, ayaw naman nilang mabasa, 'di
Yung
ba?
rider na nagaing na apektuhan ata eh.
Exactly, JF.
Yes, Angela. Bukod nga sa basahan zone, meron din under yan ng city ordinance.
Wala.
Oo.
Si JF na na ng basa.
Oo, baka na...
City
Okay, go
Ordinance
ahead.
number 14 series of 2024 kung saan nga nagkaroon ng basahan zone at mayroon mga mga patas na dapat sundin. Isa na nga dyan ang bawal magbasa ng mga dumadaan lamang at mamilit para basahin ito, magbukas ng pinto ng mga sasakyan, alugin ng mga sasakyan, basahin yung mga tao sa loob ng sasakyan. Yan ang mga bagay na bawal sa taon na ito. At kapag sumabag, Presidente, magpatunayan na lumabag, may kaukulang penalty. Nag-uumpisa yan sa 5,000 pesos at makukulong ng 10 araw.
Lastly, JF, sobrang saya ng mga nasa likod mo. Hanggang anong oras gagawin itong Wata Wata Festival? At how do we make sure yung security dyan sa area ay maayos at nasusundan?
Yes, Angela. Nagsimula ito 7 a.m. ng umaga at matatapos yan mamaya 2 p.m. Sa seguridad naman, maraming kapulisan na umiikot at rumoronda dito sa kapaligiran nga ng Pinaglabanan Road at M. Dominguez Street. Pero may mga naitala na tayo mga kaso na tulad ng nahimatay at tulad ng may mga kaso na rin na nahuli na minor de edad dahil nga nagrarayot sila, nagkakagulo sila at meron na tayo naitala na nagkasugatan dito.
JF, linawin ko lang JF ha. Kunyari pumunta ako dyan sa basaan zone, may dala akong water gun. Pwede ako makibasa sa mga mga taga San Juan o yung fire truck lang talaga?
Sorry. Checo, yes. Dito lang talaga sa basaan zone, pwede kang makipagbasahan. Kung may dala kang katulad nga na sabi mo na water gun, pwede ka dito makipagbasahan. Pero beyond basahan zone, bawal na yan at may kaukulan ng penalty kapag ikaw ay nahuli na nambasa sa labas na itong basahan zone.
Tsaka sa ayaw magpabasa, no, JF?
Sa ayaw pag... Yes, Diego.
Sige, JF.
Alright, sige. Hello sa mga taga San Juan. Very happy ngayon. Oo. Baka gusto nila magsalita.
Oo nga, may gusto daw pa magsalita.
Oh.
Ayun,
Nahiya naman, di ba?
Microphone, nahiya na.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyo, ating mobile journalist JF Rivera, live na nagulat mula sa San Juan.
Siguro right after the show, takbo tayo ng San Juan. Makikiligo lang ako kasi
Punta pa ba tayo ng San Juan?
parang
Joke lang.
gusto mo
We'll
talaga.
be back with more
gusto mo
stories
talaga.
after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Vice President Sara Duterte's legal team has formally submitted a response to the Senate impeachment court, firmly denying all allegations.
Around 6 p.m. on Monday, a messenger from the Fortuner Vasa and Salazar law firm arrived at the Senate to deliver copies of Vice President Sara Duterte's official response to the writ of summons issued by the impeachment court on June 11. The Vice President's camp submitted 6 copies of the response, each 35 pages long. VP Sara maintained that she has done nothing wrong. In a document shared with the media by the House Prosecution Panel spokesperson Attorney Antonio Bujoy, the impeachment complaint against VP Sara was labeled as a mere scrap of paper, lacking any legal basis. The vice president's camp echoed the same argument made earlier by her ally, Senator Bato de la Rosa, questioning the constitutionality of the complaint. They claim the House violated the constitutional one-year rule, which allows only one impeachment proceeding per official each year. The February complaint against VP Sara was reportedly the fourth filed against her. Her camp argued that action on the earlier 3 complaints, filed as early as December, was deliberately delayed to bypass this rule, calling it an abuse of the impeachment process. VP Sara is currently facing accusations of conspiring to assassinate President Bongbong Marcos, misusing confidential funds, bribery, and links to extrajudicial killings in Davao City. But she insists there is no evidence to support any of the allegations. The title of the VP's response is marked Answer ad Cautelam, which means the reply is being filed with caution, potentially reserving arguments for later.
Maybe in their minds, they'd like to reserve some arguments, no? But in compliance with the order of the court, nag-file sila ng answer, but they're expressing that they're doing so with precaution.
Now that the clerk of court has received the VP's response, copies will be distributed to Senate President and Presiding Officer Chiz Escudero, court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tonggol, and all senator judges. The House Prosecution Panel has 5 days to issue the reply to the VP's answer, which falls on a Saturday, so submission may happen by Monday, June 30.
So, yun, according dun sa Senate impeachment rules, nasa 6 na tayo dun sa impeachment, or 5th ba, if I'm not mistaken. Ito yung pagsagot ni Vice President Sara Duterte, which was yung deadline yesterday.
Od Cautelam, with
Oo.
caution.
We were talking to former Associate Justice Carpio yesterday, and we asked him kung, kasi yesterday nga yung deadline. Actually, yung deadline is 21, pero Saturday yun. So, kahapon yung pinaka-deadline niya. So, kung halimbawa yesterday hindi siya nakapag-file, is she waiving her right na daw? Tapos sabi nga ni former Supreme Court Justice, Associate Justice Carpio, yesterday, sabi niya, oo, pag hindi siya nag-file. But finally, yesterday, beating the deadline nga, nakapag-file na sila.
As expected naman.
As expected naman. Pero kasi, yung isa sa mga sinasabi nila doon, yung sinasabi ng Constitution, yung one-year rule, diba? No impeachment proceeding shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a period of 1 year. Yung defense ng ng lawyer ni VP Sara, marami kasing na-file. Pero 'di ba at the end of the day, pero tatlo 'yun pang-apat parang na-consolidate.
Parang based,
yun yung ipinasa.
based on rules, ang pinagbabasihan ng isang impeachment complaint na bawal i-file, yung dumaan sa Committee on Justice or sa plenary at dinismiss outright because of number one, lack of sufficient, and it should be sufficient in form and substance. Kung na-deny yan in form or in substance, magti-trigger ang one-year rule. So yun ang ibig sabihin nun. Hindi yung multiple ang nagpa-file.
Yes, at saka you have to look into the Constitution kasi nakalagay doon, no impeachment proceedings. Hindi nakalagay no impeachment complaint. Diba? So yun yung parang sinasabi naman ng kabilang panig ng ibang mga legal luminaries stating na tama yung ginawa na proseso ng House of Representatives.
And the reason why they delay it sometimes, if you look at the history of impeachment, not only in the Philippines, sa Paraguay, I think there may proceedings and somewhere like that, it's because in Congress or Parliament wants to consolidate. Kasi minsan may very controversial figure ang isang bansa. Ang ginagawa nila, pag multiple ang impeachment complaints, instead na mag-trigger ng dismissal of the complaint at magkaroon ng ban or how many, iba-ibang ban, years ang mangyayari is ko-consolidate ng Parliament, ko-consolidate ng House, ang complaints into one singular complaint para yung Committee on Justice or yung plenary, iisa na lang ang tinatakal nila.
Okay.
Yun ang pinaka nun.
So, as we were talking about it kanina, yung steps, yung step na ginawa ni VP Sara was step 5. Ngayon, await the reply of House of Prosecution within 5 days. That's step 6. No, after nun, appearance of VP Sara and entering of her plea. No, yun yung mga magiging next. Tapos preliminary conference, presentation of evidence, closing final arguments, yun na yung Senate's vote na September.
And sabi rin ni Justice,
Step 11.
Sabi rin ni Justice Carpio, yung mga nag-i-issue about yung magka-crossover. Kasi expected the actual trial proper will start sa 20th Congress na hiningi ng Senate yung certification from Congress or yung magkaroon ng at least a proclamation na itutuloy niya. Wag, sabi ni Justice Carpio, let's not read into that too much. It's just a basic reply na sabi, okay, itutuloy namin. It's not like saying pag-iisipan pa ng 20th Congress or hindi daw. Kasi standardly, if they're following yung rules saka yung Constitution, itutuloy nila yan. It's just that they are proclaiming, okay, we will continue. Ito ang magiging prosecution team namin. Clarify naman ni ni Attorney Reginald Tongol Na sinabi niya, hinihingi lang nila spokesperson ng impeachment court, hinihingi lang nila is i-proclaim at ipakilala kung sino ang bagong prosecution team because bago na ang make-up ng 20th Congress in the
Actually,
Lower
for
House.
other legal luminaries nga, yung pagkaroon ng remand during yung impeachment
This is the
proceedings
remand,
nila.
but I was mentioning yung crossover.
Hindi, yun nga, yung pagkaroon nga daw ng ganun, parang it seals the deal na magkakaroon talaga ng crossover ng 20th Congress.
Kasi binalik mo humingi ka ng certification So, tuloy na tuloy yan. And expected natin mangyari before we go, expected natin mangyari is SONA ni Pangulo, doon na siguro i-convene once again
yung 20th Congress.
Yan, inabangan natin lahat. Alright, in other news, oil companies are rolling out a nearly 5 peso fuel price hike in 2 stages this week. Now, the first tranche took effect earlier today, June 24, with gasoline up by 1 peso and 75 centavos per liter, diesel by 2 pesos and 60 centavos, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 40 centavos. The rest of the hike takes effect Thursday, June 26. Transport groups have criticized the move, saying even staggered increases burden low-income commuters. They're calling for the removal of fuel excise taxes and are opposing fare hikes that could further strain the riding public.
Yan yung pinag-uusapan natin on the way here. Diba? Ito na yung pinakamataas this month, 5 pesos, pero gagawin nilang staggered. Pero at the end of the day, ganun pa rin. Kaya yung ilang mga oil groups o mga transport advocates are saying na mas maganda siguro itanggalin yung VAT, diba, yung excessive taxes dun sa excise tax dun sa oil natin para mas maayos, mas magaan for the transport groups and commuters as well.
Ang explanation nila dito is when a jeepney driver or and his family, they spend kunyari today, pinag-iisipan din nila kung ano yung possible expenses next week. So, for example, papasokan na ngayon, kagastos ba ako ngayon ng 3 kilo? Bumaba ng 2 piso Pero next week may enrollment ang anak ko. So, syempre, ang gagawin, bumaba, gagastos ko ba lahat? Pero knowing na may increase pa the week next, yung buying power mo, bumababa pa rin. So, yung sinasabi ng mga transport groups, hindi nakakatulong yan because hindi nag-iiba ang spending power because hino-hold back pa rin niya. Alam niya may impending.
Nadidelay lang
Nadidelay. Kung baga sinabi, kunyari may bibitayin ka daw, bago mo bitayin, sabihin mo, week 1, putulin ko muna yung buhok mo. Week 2, pakulayan natin Hindi, di ba? Di isang bagsakan na lang. Ganon din daw
Alright, in other news, the Philippine Coast Guard has started conducting patrols around Taal Lake. This comes amid reports that dozens of missing cockfighters have been buried in the area. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Amy Atienza.
34 na sabungero ang sunod-sunod na nawala. Makalipas ang ilang taon, may lumantad para sabihing inilubog ang mga sabungero dito sa Taal Lake. Pumutok ang balita noong Huwebes, June 19, na wala na umanong pag-asang makita muling buhay ang mga sabungerong higit 3 taon nang nawawala. Ayon sa isang dating security guard, pinatay na ang mga sabungero. Ang mga bangkay, itinali umano gamit ang tie wire saka itinapon sa Taal Lake. Ang impormasyong ito, aaksyonan daw ng Department of Justice.
Marahil kailangan ng tactical diver yan. Pagka ma-determine natin ang veracity ng information, we will need tactical divers to do it kasi malalim din yan.
Binisita ng 1PH ang bayan ng San Nicolas sa Batangas para personal ding tingnan ang sitwasyon. Nandito nga tayo ngayon sa San Nicolas, Batangas at itong nasa aking likuran ay Taal Lake na yan. And allegedly ito nga daw yung area kung saan ibinaon yung lost sabungeros. Pero so far, kalmado yung sitwasyon. Yung mga residente din parang wala namang pangamba. At ang kagandahan pa rito, nandito rin yung Philippine Coast Guard Substation Unit ng San Nicolas. Hindi na rin naman nag-atubiling kumilos ang Philippine Coast Guard. Paglilinaw ng PCG Commander for Public Affairs Captain Noemi Cayabyab, Wala pang deployment ng divers pero nagsimula na ang mas mahigpit na seaborne patrolling sa lugar.
But when we received, when we heard about the statement of SOJ, we deployed, our personnel to conduct seaborne patrol operations within the area of Taal. They're also, aside to the seaborne patrol, they're also coordinating with the coastal barangays, ma'am. So if ever may makita or whatever, ma'am, they could easily inform or immediately inform our nearest PCG units po.
Wala pang katiyakan kung ano ang masisisid sa Taal Lake. Pero ang sigurado, marami naghihintay sa kahihinatnan ng kasong ito. Mobile journalist Tammy Atienza po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Well, as DOJ Secretary Remulla said, kailangan talaga mga tactical divers,
Because
diba?
hindi
Kasi
lang-
malalim yan eh.
Oh, tsaka hindi lang birong lake tong Taal Lake. Now, yung visibility nito medyo mababa kasi may mga particulates that have come from the past explosions that make the water a little murkier. Tapos iba yung alkalinic and acidity level dyan. Tsaka yung temperature is also different. Yung sinabi mo nga, visibility is also different. And ang tagal na nito nandito,
Tagal.
di ba? Sabi baka
Ever.
wala
Oo.
nang...
Kasi it started 2020.
Oo, sabi ni Brigadier General Fajardo, most likely buto na ang makikita dito eh. So, identification process ang hirap. But ang tagal na kasi nitong issue na ito. Yung,
Yeah, nagkaroon pa, di ba, we were talking about it last week, nagkaroon pa ng Senate hearing regarding
Yeah, about
this.
that.
And yung mga families of these victims were present there sa Senate hearing. Kasi syempre, naghahanap din sila ng justice, di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng basa-basa na lang mawawala yung kaanak mo, umalis ng maayos sa bahay nyo, tapos biglang all of
Hindi
a
na umuwi.
sudden, wala na.
Di mo,
Diba?
tas wala pang resolution. All right, more victims of abusive online lending apps have filed complaints before authorities citing harassment, privacy violations, and threats. To shed light on the issue and discuss what actions are being taken, we're joined by PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio. Folks, thank you for joining us.
Hi. Magandang umaga po. I apologize. I cannot go on cam. I'm somewhere preparing for an operation again.
Oh, okay. No problem, folks.
problem
We
po.
won't take too much of your time, but we just like an update kasi ang dami na pong complaint about yung mga abusive online apps, and most of them are passed off as legit because meron supposedly SEC registration. And how is your office now currently handling these issues? Kasi how do you, di ba, siphon the fake from the real?
Yeah. To be honest, around late January, naka-receive na kami ng mga complaints about this. And we operated against one sa May Makati noong February 1. And we're able to close down one online lending application that was operating two online apps. So we were able to file a case against them. Unfortunately, the case did not stick. So nag-lie low kami for a while because thinking that we would not be able to provide enough legal grounds to be able to close all of these online lending applications. But then again, we've continued to receive online complaints. In fact, I was receiving hundreds of complaints on a daily basis on my Facebook account. So what I did was I informed my staff na mag-set up kami ng isang specific na email. And we were able to do that. And in a matter of days, 5 days, 3 days, 5,000 ang na-receive namin. In a matter of weeks, up until last June 5, we were able to receive 13,700 plus. So it was at that point that we decided to open up a one-stop complaint center together with the SEC, National Privacy Commission, and the PNP. And up until yesterday, we were able to receive 138 face-to-face complaint, no? So
That's
mag-consolidate kami ng complaints tomorrow at together with SEC, PNP, and the National Privacy Commission. Then hopefully within early next week or mid next week, makapag-file na kami ng actual na complaints against some of these online lending applications. Remember, we're not only going after airing OLAs, but we're going to go after the abusive collectors as well, yung mga third-party collectors na tinatawag.
All right, Spock, it's good that you mentioned about this mechanism that our kababayans have to run after these abusive online apps, lending apps, no? But we have to also clarify, kasi sometimes umaabot na sa puntos, folks, na may mga threats already to life, nagpapadala ng kabaong sa bahay. But I'm privy to family members who have said nag-loan sila ng 30,000, biglang 18 lang ang pinadala because inuna ng interest. So how do we determine, kasi initially mahirap i-determine eh, pero without hindi pinapaabot sa threat, how do we determine na, oy, ano pala to, baka dubious kasi based on interest, based on charges, para kaagad pwedeng i-report?
Una, we don't have an anti-usury law anymore. Meaning to say, they can raise any interest depending on what their digital contract implies. No? So kinakailangan dito ang ating mga mangungutang, they need to read through the fine print of the digital contract before they sign, before they affix their electronic signature. That's one. Second, they need to go and check lahat ng mga online lending applications that are legal with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Meron naman po silang listahan yan sa kanilang website. But then again, it does not mean that because they are in the SEC website that they are already above board. The Securities and Exchange Commission has a list of disallowed collection practices that they dub as abusive. If any of those collection practices are used against them, they can immediately file a complaint before the SEC, PAOK, PNP, CIDG, ACG, and or the National Privacy Commission. What are these? Quick rundown. Their data should not be shared to a third party collector. That's one, no? Kasi ang nagiging problema nito, yung abusive collection practices are being done by the third party collection party, no? So yun ang nagiging problema nila nito. We have heard of some complainants. For example, one guy had a funeral service delivered to his house. Another, yes, medyo matindi yun. Another woman had her face, ito matindi, had her face pasted on a porno video, and it was shown and sent to all of her family members. So may iba naman na pinapadalhan allegedly ng what seems to be arrest warrants, when in fact there are no arrest warrants or cases against them, and all of their faces and their pictures, all of their IDs are pasted on social media. In fact, I just saw one this morning, and we're seeking the help of our contact with Meta to be able to take down some of the social media accounts na apparently are being run by OLA collection agents. So there are so many out there na dapat nating aksyonan.
Based on the reports and what you have just said, medyo talagang aggressive po itong mga online lending apps na to when it comes to, making singil doon sa kanilang mga kliyente. Pero ang tanong po ba dito, have we found out po, meron na po ba tayong information kung itong mga lending apps na to may totoo silang mga physical offices, and have we gotten in touch also with the possible owners of these lending apps?
They do have physical offices. In fact, sabi ko kanina, we were able to close down one last February 1, 2025. They were running 2 online lending applications on Google Play Store and Apple Store. So we were able to close that one. And most of the OLAs that are being reported now are actually supposedly legit. No, they have their papers for the Securities and Exchange Commission, but then again, yung collection practices are very dubious bordering on criminal. That's why we
Unorthodox.
acted upon this kasi marami ng kababayan natin yung nabibiktima. Sabi nga ng Pangulo natin, kahit maliliit na bagay, we need to act on them
Right.
and we need to act on them swiftly.
Oo.
And PAOK, being a presidential office, took that to heart. Kaya nung dumadami na yung ating mga complaints, so malalayo pa yung pinanggagalingan ng ating iba mga complainants. Some, for example, last Saturday, one flew all the way from Sultan Kudarat. They're all over the country, and dapat ating tandaan that our kababayans who patronize online lending applications are those who are hard off in life. So, and then, yun na nga, hirap na sila sa buhay, tapos since they're unable to provide collateral, loan collaterals, they cannot go through the lending institutions that are malalaki. No, they cannot go to the banks and so on and so forth because they could not provide collaterals. And these online lending applications are the easy fix, so to speak. These are legitimate businesses. What we're only trying to what we're only trying to do is remind them, stop this dubious, outright criminal practices.
Pero ang PAOK po ba, meron po ba kayong plano na magsampa po ng kaso dito po sa mga ginagawa na pagsingil, manner ng pagsingil ng mga online lending apps, aside pa doon sa magiging pag-file ng mga complainants?
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow, we'll have an interagency meeting headed by the Securities and Exchange Commission together with the PNP CIDG and the PNP ACG, Department of Justice, and the National Privacy Commission. We would come up with a rational response to this problem. So, part of that rational response would be to file criminal cases against, criminal civil cases against the owners, the incorporators, the officers, and the actual collectors that would be identified by the complainants. Another part of the rational response is to make sure that we take down, we request Google and Apple to take down the online lending applications that are on their stores, on their Play stores. Third is we will have through the Securities and Exchange Commission, we need to issue a cease and desist order to be able to physically close the brick and mortar offices of these online lending applications. Pero let me be upfront and state that there are many online lending applications that are not doing this dubious and criminal
definitely.
collection practices. Hindi sila dapat madamay. So, ang amin lang hinahabol ay yung talagang may talamak na mga complaints. And then again, even if there are complaints, we need to verify and validate those complaints.
Spokes, I'd like to ask you, we all know naman may mga legit na online lending applications, but yung binabanggit mo, those are practicing na borderline criminal collection practices, no? Kasi at face value, we all know naman to get these permits na medyo madali, no? Especially in SEC. Do you see a link between all of these supposed online lending applications that are borderline criminal in the way they collect? Kasi ang nangyayari is I've actually seen yung templates ng several online lending applications. They use the same words, they use the same fonts, the same color, nag-iiba lang ng name. Sometimes iisa pa nga ang online model nila, pero iba-ibang guys ang company, iba-ibang name. So baka naman kasi, baka legit nga ang SEC pero meron malaking grupo behind this.
Or Pogo?
Yes, that's true. That's true. Last February, when we conducted our investigation on the OLA that we closed down, we were able to see a link to one a series of foreign entities, so to speak, foreign nationals who owns and operated this particular online lending applications. So it's quite possible that there is only a few owners of this OLA, of these abusive OLAs, and we have identified some of them through the documents that were submitted to the SEC, as well as through their filings in foreign territories.
Pero very quick na lang po, Spokes, meron din po ba kayo nakikitang possible indication na may link ito sa Pogos?
Apparently, there are some, but we could not say all. In as much as we have identified foreign nationals with links to closed POGOs that are behind some of these online learning applications. We got documents from our foreign counterparts identifying some of them, and we would look at them tomorrow, and we would be able to make the determination after the interagency body decides and meets tomorrow.
All right, we will be continue to get in touch with you regarding this issue. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at good luck po sa inyong surgery. That was PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio.
Thank you, thank you.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
In weather, Pag-asa continue to monitor a low-pressure areas within the Philippine territory. The LPA was last spotted some 290 kilometers west of Ambulong, Tanawan City in Batangas. This triggers scattered rains and thunderstorms over Pangasinan, Zambales, and Bataan. The southwest monsoon or habagat may also bring scattered rains. Affected areas include Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Bicol Region, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, and the rest of Central Luzon. The remaining parts of the country may also experience rains due to localized thunderstorms.
Pag-asa is monitoring a low-pressure area within the Philippine territory. Let's get the latest from weather forecaster Rhea Torres. Rhea.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rhea.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to our televiewers.
All right, Rhea, let's talk about yung itong monitored LPA nyo. Do we see this intensifying or medyong huhupa ito?
Yes po, so yung minomonitor natin na low pressure area dito po sa western section ng Luzon ay may potential pa rin po or possible pa rin po na maging isang ganap na bagyo. Although based po sa ating pagtaya or ating forecast ay may possibility na kumilos po ito po palayo ng ating Philippine landmass.
So if ever Rhea, no, ano yung timeline nito? When do we expect this to affect or nakaka-apekto na siya sa Zambales area?
Yes po, so yung mga pag-ulan po nitong low pressure area actually since yesterday ay nagpapaulan na sa may western sections ng Central Luzon. So particularly dyan po sa may Zambales, Pangasinan as well as sa may Bataan. And in the event po na lalayo po itong low pressure area, yung unti-unti na pong mababawasan yung mga pag-ulan dahil po sa LPA, pero yung habagat naman po ang magte-take over ng mga pag-ulan sa western sections ng Luzon.
Okay. So, are we also monitoring other weather disturbances within or outside the Philippine area of responsibility na possible pumasok sa atin?
So for now po, actually kahapon meron po tayong minomonitor na bagyo pero lumabas na po siya ng ating monitoring area. So besides po itong low pressure area within PAR ay wala na po tayong ibang minomonitor na system.
Alright, Rhea, you mentioned yung habagat, no, naiiral siya. So will it continue to trigger scattered rain showers? Ano ba magiging affected areas natin and how long do you see this happening?
So primarily yung southwest monsoon po is affecting most parts of central and southern Luzon starting or actually the past days. At napapansin din po natin yan sa mas frequent na mga thunderstorms, especially pagdating po sa hapon. So itong scenarios po nito possible na mag-persist pa hanggang sa Thursday and improving ang weather conditions pagdating po ng Friday or this coming weekend. So yung primary areas na maapektuhan po ng habagat over the next few days is mainly itong mga western portions po ng Luzon area. And kabilang po dyan yung Metro Manila, yung Zambales, Bataan, as well as yung western portions po ng Calabarzon, dyan po sa may Cavite and Batangas, as well as dito po sa may Mindoro provinces, Oriental and Occidental Mindoro, at dito din po sa Palawan.
So Rhea, sinasabi mo clear na tayo sa weekend?
Possible po, yes.
Rhea, I'd like to ask about... sorry, go ahead.
Lang din, just to be clear on the issue, yung gale warning po natin, Ms. Rhea.
Yeah.
Yes po. So currently, no gale warning po is raised over any seaboards of the country. So yung maglalayag po sa mga kababayan po natin na maglalayag is mas magiging maingat na lamang po sa mga offshore na thunderstorms. So may mga pag-ulan din po na posibleng maranasan sa karagatan, and yung mga thunderstorms po na yun ay posible din magdulot ng mga biglaang pagbukso ng hangin. Kaya doble ingat na lamang po sa mga kababayan natin.
Yeah, Rhea, gusto ko lang hingiin yung ano mo a little well kasi yesterday, 'di ba, may torrential rains tayo nangyari. Especially sa area namin sa may Quezon City, particularly yung subdivision namin, may nakaranas in a span of 20 minutes, parang signal number 4 or 5, nagbagsakan ng puno. And apparently, kausap namin yung forecaster namin dito sa Kapatid Network, possible daw na microburst. What is a microburst, Rhea?
So, just to parang simplify the definition of a microburst po, parang microburst. So, maliit po siya na biglaang bugso ng malakas na ulan at hangin. So, halos, pag nararanasan po natin ang microburst, halos akala po natin may bagyo po na dumadaan, pero hindi po siya tumatagal as compared po sa bagyo. So, mararanasan po natin yung biglang lakas ng hangin na halos ma-outbalance po tayo. For example, pag nahagip po tayo ng ganong hangin, at bibiglang lalakas din po yung ulan. Pero after a while, or nearly minutes lang po, ay mawawala din po agad yan.
So,
yun po yung
nagkakaganon
microburst.
po? Ano pong nagtitrigger
Yes po.
sa microburst?
Usually mga thunderstorms po, gaya po nung na-experience natin kahapon.
And lastly siguro, before I let you go, yung volume ba ng rain ng isang microburst ay within that period ay madami, ang more than a traditional na mga paambon-ambon?
Mas po, syempre mas malakas po siya as compared sa mga typical na mga pag-ambo na nararanasan. For example, during mga weak na southwest monsoon events. So yung mga microburst po kasi halos, imagine na lang po natin na bigla kang bumuhos ng isang timba sa another container. So isang bagsakan ng malakas na ulan at bigla pong mawawala. Yan.
All right, thank you for that, Pag-asa weather forecaster Rhea Torres. Motorcycle riders are raising concerns over the implementation of the motorcycle lane policy under the No Contact Apprehension Program, or NCAP. Some riders say the policy has made their trips more dangerous as they are now forced to squeeze into a single crowded lane. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Evan Tarinque.
Sa kalsada lahat tayo gusto makarating sa pupuntahan ng ligtas. Paano kung ang lane para sa motor ay mukhang lata ng sardinas tuwing rush hour?
Wala halos motorsiklong lumalabas ng kanilang lane sa Commonwealth Avenue sa takot na may spatan sa no contact apprehension. Kaya kahit siksikan, tiis na lang sila sa loob ng iisang motorcycle lane. Pero hinaing ng ilang rider groups, alanganin ang lagay nila sa ganitong sitwasyon. Hindi lang dahil sa dami ng motor sa isang makitid na espasyo, kundi dahil sa humaba rin nilang travel time. Nadagdagan sila ng more than 60 minutes travel time during rush hour. Naging mas delikado para sa kanila yung MC lane because of yung siksikan. Ginawang sardinas, parang sardinas. 5 hanggang 6 na riders nga raw ang magkakadikit sa isang lane tuwing rush hour. Paliwanag naman ng MMDA. Mismong mga motorcycle groups din ang unang nagsulong ng dedicated motorcycle lanes. Pero nananatili silang bukas sa mga rekomendasyon para mapaigting ang kaligtasan sa kalsada.
Para hindi tayo magsiksikan, hindi tayo maging safe. Kung yung MC lane gusto nyong tingin sa 3 para maayos po yung hindi pakarin po dagdag sa speed ninyo.
Exempted naman sa MC lane sa mga big bikes o ang may displacement na 400cc pataas. Dahil sa bigat at init ng makina, maaaring mag-overheat kung mababad sa traffic. At kapag natumba, pwede rin ito makadamay ng iba.
Una-unan, very unsafe na magtabi-tabi tayo sa maliit na lane, sa isang lane. Kayo ang mahihirapan, promise, hindi kami. Kasi una-una, ayaw nyo na bumagsak kami sa inyo. Magdodomino effect tayo sa kalsada.
Hindi lang basta lane ang usapan, kundi buhay. Kaya habang patuloy ang debate tungkol sa NCAP at motorcycle lanes, isa ang dapat tandaan. Ang ligtas na pag-uwi ay pananagutan ng bawat isa sa kalsada. Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque po, hatid ang muka ng balita.
Vice President Sara Duterte calls President Bongbong Marcos a, quote, scammer. According to the VP, this is a fitting description of Marcos for failing to fulfill his campaign promises back in 2022. Sara also called the chief executive insecure for allowing the arrest of her father in March. But Malacanang is not letting the remarks slide. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro issued a sharp rebuttal, responding to the Vice President's accusations point by point.
Budol? Talaga? Hindi ko alam kung sino ba ang nambudol. Hindi natin alam kung sino ba ang nambubudol. Sa panahon, sa nakikita po natin na pagtatrabaho ng Pangulo, sa pag-uutos sa amin na focus sa trabaho at hindi pamumulitika, sino ba talaga ang nambubudol? Wala po ako nadidinig sa Pangulo na siya po ay nanghinayang kung siya man po ay nakipag-team up sa Vice Presidente. Kung may nagsisisi man na sa kanya ay maka-team up siya, it's their loss, not the President's.
Alam mo, that's the optics eh. President Bongbong Marcos, pag tinanong mo siya about this, very calm, and tsaka mostly hindi niya sasagutin. Trabaho lang. Pero alam mo pagka may gustong isagot, 'di ba? Si Claire Castro.
Very animated. Pero name me a president in the last 3 presidents na nakapag-fulfill ng campaign promise.
Yan kasi
Diba?
dapat hindi na
I remember,
hindi naman kaya pa
I
ng,
remember si former President Rodrigo Duterte vowed to end traffic in 6 months, vowed to end drug problem in 3 months. Eh wala rin naman, di ba?
Eh, bakit
so,
kasi minaniniwala?
lahat ng presidente, hindi, it's a difficult job. Mahirap talaga maging presidente ng Pilipinas, di ba? So, pero wala eh. These are warring political families, so what do you expect from these two? Pero, as you said, very animated si Attorney Claire, and more of that
On the right corner.
on the right and the left corner. All right, in sports, Signal remains unbeaten in the PVL on tour after sweeping Capital One in straight sets, 25-21, 25-22, 25-16 in Vigan City, Ilocos Sur. This marks the HG Spikers' second consecutive win following their victory over Akari on Sunday. Jel Cayuna anchored the offense with 27 excellent sets, while Erica Santos led all scorers with 11 points. Creamline Cool Smashers also secured a 2-0 record after a 4-set win over Akari, 27-25, 22, 25, 25-19, 25-18. Michelle Gumabao dropped 18 points with Eliza Valdez and Gemma Galanza, putting in stellar two-way efforts.
Now, Akbayan Representative-elect Chel Jokno sits down for an exclusive interview on The Long Take. In that interview, Jokno revealed that the congressional run was a last-minute decision, and even he didn't expect their party's 3-seat win. He credits the grassroots energy of his young supporters, proudly called children, for the upset. Don't miss this conversation on Long Take, only here on One News. Siyempre,
that's
interviewed
me.
by Diego Castro.
I'm on TV. Wow! Galing. Bakit?
Okay, mamaya po yan.
Hindi, abangan niyo yun.
Long Take.
It's very interesting to pick his brains kasi we all know, before we go, yung last election, we all expected a Senate run. At sabi nila, bakit daw sa Akbayan at hindi sa ML party list. But unbeknown to many, matagal na po may ugnayan si Attorney Chel Jokno with Akbayan. In fact, yung last Senate run niya when he lost, he was already floated as supposedly part of the Akbayan party list na hindi natuloy. Now, it came into fruition and he ran and they got 3 seats. Together with Duterte Youth na na-disqualify, di ba?
Sila yung
Top.
mga top
3 seats
party
each,
list.
supposedly.
Oo.
Ayun. So, abangan yan mamaya.
Long Take here on One News.
On One News. Tsaka ikaw, meron ka rin.
Bukas pa.
Bukas
natin
pa.
pag-usapan yan.
Sige. Okay. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are One News. All sides, all the time.
Surgery.